Your attention is currency, physically speaking. The Monopoly game here is so that they place your attention with the game of money. And yes, money is currency because we collectively agreed, whether consciously or not, to place attention creating that field interlaced within our experiential field within this state of humanity. So money is what you make of if you tap into that resonance. Money is in a state of inertia. It can be good, it can be evil. Money can be magnetized, it can also be contrasted or repelled. And then there are entities such as low vibrational beings that can block you from attainment, let's say, of money, as an example, especially if you vibe at the frequency of money. Once you see this perspective, it's a key code. See, money is a frequency. If you start to understand frequencies as templates, interlapping or overlapping, intercommunicating, interweaving within the holographic experience, then you can see how money in itself, when you focus on money, would be deemed as lower vibrational, at least where this conversation is concerned, so that you can have something to compare towards as far as something that's more expansive and something that's more dense, as far as energy is concerned. So again, money flows because you are the currency. You are the temple. Your physical body actually sits within your soul. And many people think that your souls are inside their body, such as when people say, I'm having a spiritual experience. But you are soul, you are spirit. And once you start to see the inversion of your experiences, then you can start to see how your body is the avatar-like technology, allowing for your soul to become more dense or limited within the 5, 6, 7 seal or 7 sensory system capacity here in the physical. And that's why very advanced souls, I'm talking very advanced souls, all the way up to the Rishi level and even higher, cannot easily collapse into an embryonic birth here as a human, because it will destroy the biology of being birthed here, because the avatar of being a human will not be able to withstand such high consciousness. So to expand your consciousness and currency is to bring it back to self. If you keep chasing the money so that you can purchase the things that you need to, that refined business or the new way that you're going to start to serve your higher self, humanity the same, your calling, or maybe you're seeing yourself expanding with what you're doing right now and you are already in alignment, then start to see with how your soul communicates with symbols. So if you start seeing the dollar figure as a symbol, you can see that everything in that money is already a pre-programmed algorithm already, just by looking at the actual geometric symbols that are there. Nothing's by coincidence and everything's there through an actualized precision. I mean, if you want to talk about real dark evil witchery, people are, deeming females for a very long time as witches. The true dark evil warlocks are the ones that created this system, and this creation started during Mesopotamia, at least in this way, as far as the separation and the construct of having, let's say, organized politics, organized financial system, organized healthcare, organized religion. That system was at least 10,000 years old. This is not a new system. Yes, the title's name, the religions expanded, became more complex as far as how many religions can you actually choose. Yes, the language of how money works changed. Yes, now how people speak with the health field so advanced. But don't be fooled. These are just changes and resets within a system of 10,000 years. Many, many resets have been taking place to keep resetting your human experience. As they start to see people becoming more awakened as they're being born here, with seeing the imbalance of certain symbols and creations just with your physical experience. Just as soon as I saw a cathedral as a child, something always fell off. As soon as somebody said, well, this is where you're going to save yourself of God, something fell off. So the system became more complex as we are becoming more conscious, more curious, more open. So what they're doing is confusing us with so many more options because we're already programmed to work based on options that we have. But enough of us now are being incarnated here, knowing their mission, which already remembering or not requiring a 2,000-year evolution, but within one lifespan, to awaken to what would take 2,000 or even 4,000 or several resets. You know, some beings are very ancient and have been at least 10,000 years, having been through this recycling incarnation and the resetting system here and programming. It's so advanced. It's, I would say, 550 million years advanced and designed for you, especially if you're attracting and magnetizing this kind of a video, because this kind of video is fragmented. There are little pieces, templates of information necessary to continue interlacing to how you're working within your awakening process. This is why I don't speak linear. These are conversations of soul to soul, reunifying missions. And there are souls here that don't require much except for the education of the actual interlacing codes, such as this video. And it's all they need to receive that medicine. And they will be okay. You will be okay. You are okay, right? So again, we are here so that the new earth in her ascension doesn't require another 2,000-year evolution. And it's already happening. I'm more than sure that it's not going to require another 2,000-year evolution. If it did, I'm also sure that the way we've been creating this sense of evolution as a human race, collectively speaking, she wouldn't last that long. And the reason why it's been taking this long, that's where you start to remember once again, not with your thinking mind, not limited to your 5 senses. You have to feel it here. The original War of Wars. Star Wars. Star Wars tells you everything. No, I'm joking. I'm more of a Star Trek fan, just so you know. But even shows give you fragments of realities and truths. Scripture, hieroglyphics, petroglyphs. There's DNA every time you visit certain lands, mountains. You know, mountains have DNA. I don't know how much, but anywhere from 6,000 to thousands and thousands of DNA strands. So when you visit a place because you're being told to, and we're not talking about tourist attraction type or vacation type, when you feel a calling and you don't even have money, let's say, and something's driving you to go there, that's because spirit within is magnetizing you, because there's also remembrance protocols that's going to come into union with you. And all of these fragments collectively, it's how you're becoming awakened. And again, to be born awakened wouldn't be possible during this dense field of humanity, because the embryo wouldn't be able to hold such consciousness. And even a fraction of that, there are dark entities that will infiltrate and has infiltrated, creating a deterrence. So the spiritual warfare happens even up until you're entering your body, your embryo. And more than often, when there's a natural miscarriage, or that the infant lasts a couple of days, or what did they call that? SIDS? SIDS? That was a choice made by that soul, already knowing that they didn't come correctly sequenced within their DNA. Mission was not accomplished, so they needed to abort, and as soon as possible to attempt to find themselves in another human vessel so that they can work within this experience. And if they're not able to, this is when you have things like walk-ins, agreed upon walk-ins with other beings that are born, and everything has to happen in such precise synchronicities and integration, and the programming is happening not just with you, but within your, I would say, your spirit team with the higher conscious beings. But again, this is technology that is so highly refined. Imagine the dark spiritual warfare of the ones that prevents us from doing such work in this realm. So now the dark faction is starting to become more conscious within the collective human experience. And this is an important thing, because the more they become conscious within our five sensory system, and if we are doing the work within our signature agreements, individually speaking, as soon as, and this relates to what I was saying in the beginning of this video, as soon as we become conscious, you see, we are the currency. We are the most powerful beings that we know. Once we become conscious of the dark factions, because they are conscious to us, you see, they work in indescribable ways. So once we could describe them, not with fighting, not with more war, but with pure, unconditional love. No judgment, just pure consciousness. And once you remember your currency, then you will become even more conscious. So that's how important you are within this human incarnation experience. And simply by existing, you've been in mission. But it's very challenging to become conscious, your ancient self, to be conscious once again. But you're doing it. This video would not attract anyone else. It would. The factions. And that's okay. That's coal to my fire. In traditional Chinese medicine, Chinese medical theory, which is what acupuncturists use, Chinese herbalists use to pattern differentiate when they're about to prescribe herbs or when they're about to prescribe acupuncture treatments. They're in alignment with what I'm about to say about this video, along with quantum physics, or the science of physics in general, but quantum physics is the way I understand to explain it. That I'm going to use again Chinese medical theory, basic Chinese medical theory, as far as consciousness, your consciousness, being aware is your currency. So the first couple of weeks when you're in acupuncture school and you're studying, I think it's Oriental Theory 101 or Oriental Theory 1, it depends what school you go to, but it's basically Oriental Theory, which is mandatory in most states, I guess, so that you can become a licensed acupuncturist within, again, most states. Wherever your attention goes, this is my finger. Where my attention goes, Qi eventually has to follow. Where the Qi goes, the blood has to follow the same. So there goes almost the hierarchical sequencing of natural flow between attention, your chi, which is both your electrical and magnetic field intertwined. You're not just an electrical being, you're also a magnetic being. And your blood, your physical blood, and also your esoteric blood. And that's for another video, but if you follow my videos, you would know what I mean. Esoteric is your ancestral bloodline. Your soul's connection within the tree of life, right? It all follows your command. Especially when you're in alignment with complete sequencing of attention with no emotional bearing. Just pure consciousness. So I'll say it one more time. Where your mind goes, the chi will follow. No, I'm not gonna do that. I already kind of did, sorry. Horrible humor. Woo! Right. So where your attention goes, the chi will follow. Where the chi goes, the blood will follow. Now, listen that the reverse of it is also the same. It's like yin and yang theory. Yang to yin, yin to yang. If you start to read into yin and yang theory, you can look that up. There's so much free information on that. And very understandable too. Where the blood goes, the chi will follow. Where the blood goes and the chi goes, attention will follow. Well, the best way I can explain that would be an acute sense of trauma. You know, you hurt yourself and you're bleeding profusely. Now the chi will stagnate there because that sends the message for you to become actually conscious first instinctually, right? So that your instincts could start now putting your body into survival mode, and then all of a sudden you have stiffness, swelling, making sure you don't harm yourself more, right? So that's one aspect of your attention and your consciousness, right? Another sense is that now the message between, and I would say the theory of neuroplasticity, the bridgeway between your attention and that trauma, which is the study of, is where now that attention will direct through your neuroplastic network. It will direct all of the histamine and all of the your body's ability to not just survive, but to come back into homeostasis again, right? And then you become even more conscious where you're like, oh, you start crying. your senses will trigger an emotional response because your emotions are there as well, instinctually speaking, to bring things back into harmony so as not to hold the trauma, but to move, to bring stagnation, stasis, or trauma as in blood, blood shouldn't be leaving out your body, to come into balance once again. So again, that's the reverse. This is important. Trauma, chaos, disorder, fear-mongering. That's like a big blood wound. That's the reverse. They are masters at making sure your attention goes there and you don't need to be conscious if you follow the reverse order of flow. So once your flow is in reverse that way, it kind of like occludes, as in, it basically occludes your natural response to self-regenerate and to come back into a natural flow of your 7 chakra system so that you can be in harmony within the system of Mother Earth. So again, as I said, within this fragmented video, on purpose, there are reasons for that. I won't mention it in this video, but there are reasons why the tidbits of the purpose or intention of this video, they're fragmented. There's a reason for that. And for those that know. And if you're curious, just keep following my videos. Reach out to me and I will tell you privately, but there's a reason why I wouldn't do it publicly as of right now in this moment. But everything's all in divine timing. So this is divine order. Simply becoming conscious, such as the examples provided, using any theory that you want, just becoming conscious and becoming more attuned, intuned, not just attuned, attunement as in religion, intuned, which is attunement of self-attuning, source code within, or source consciousness within. Then the interlacing patterns of your experiences becomes more conscious to you and again, and in your way, within your individual evolution. That alone is how you transcend the spiritual war that has been going on for a very long time. And the illusion is that we need to fight back. Another program here is that, you just sit and die for your sins. It's a false Christ conscious code. And it was attributed to making sure that you stay sleepy, keeping you children. But eventually you have to grow up. But the inverted self is also knowing that your innocence, your actual innocent self, is actually the ancient self. And the challenge is to now beef up that innocent one's experiences with the interlacing, the essentials of the programs that will be embedded to you when you're born here, and how to receive as they're becoming embedded to you consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, through all kinds of trauma, through love, ancestral love, ancestral schooling, the schooling system, right? Public school system is all programmed. It has nothing to do with school, very little to do with school on a collective basis. Testing and all these kind of programs, keeping you always on your left side thinking mind, that's intended to keep you self-entrapped. So there's a slew, I can make an entire list, a huge list, probably almost like a book, a slew of all of the attacks that are happening just within the context of what is normalized already. So normalized that we forgot why or how we even agreed to it. And if we start having a conversation of just right now, as an example, it wouldn't be that crazy if you saw me eating McDonald's with you and we're having lunch just because we're in a hurry and we're hungry. No, I don't eat McDonald's like that. But I've caught myself maybe within this last year saying, I'm going to do that plant Burger King. I don't know what's in there, and I've done it. I was really hungry and the stores are all closed, and it kind of settled some of my dark aspects, my lower mind, and I didn't regret it, right? So again, that's how challenging it is for you to omit yourself from all of the attacks that are happening so subtly. It's simply just agreeing on the pattern of the harsh chemical effects of a supposed plant-based burger, but in Burger King. And the thing is, I'm aware of it, and yet I catch myself eating that burger. You see how subtle that is? So it's not about fighting yourself. It's not about fighting yourself and sacrificing yourself. That's another program, the sacrificing program. Sacrificing yourself to eliminate yourself from all beings. I'm not saying not to do that. And I'm not saying that that's a low frequency thing. I'm just saying that becoming aware of those sacrifices, becoming aware as the great observer with complete, sincere love of self. And as you're being led to be in sacrifice of some kind of a diet per se, for me, dieting would be complete isolation in the jungle. Now, I wouldn't probably call that a diet. I think that's a necessary factor. But you know what I mean? It becomes your way. That is the way that I know I need to. That becomes my remembrance, because all we need to do to expand our consciousness with what I'm saying, and for you to be able to do it your way, not by reading another book, not by seeing another lecture, not by attending another class, but your Akashic record. How do you actually arrive at it without even having to align to it? Just naturally align to your Akashic record without having to go through prayers or affirmations. How do you align to that frequency? How do you normalize it where you can actually open up your eyes and just speak fluidly from the Akashic records? That's human. By cleansing up your mind, body, and spirit, and eliminating everything and anything that you're not. As much as possible. So the most daring part, which is actually kind of silly, which is actually silly because it's actually your freeing part, is to tell no one on your path and just allow yourself to go somewhere and see who you truly are Turn off everything. That's the fastest way. It's almost as hard as saying no to that Burger King burger. It's challenging because integrating with people that you love down here, with humans, family, friends, it's challenging because you to be almost like a hermit, to continue your walk, which the best way oftentimes, depending on the team or tribe that you're working with, right? Or the wave that you're actually coming into this incarnation. The level that you're working with within your signature contract is challenging because you start meeting sweet souls here. And the funny thing is, if everything wasn't complete harmonics, then there would be no mission in a sense, right? So when is the mission kind of complete? When you say so. When you align yourself, it only requires the one. It becomes a commandment once the author straddles on their throne and disassembles this old dying empire by reclaiming their kingdom, their queendom, or rather the emperor, the empress. And yes, they are avatar programming. But the programs that I'm mentioning, as I see it, is a lot higher than the fifth density field of what people would call the biblical heaven. And many of us are interlacing our remembrances just within our Akashic records of having this information within our DNA code sequencing. A lot of information is starting to come into fruition, and once you start to understand the elements, the amino acids of how we're even able to exist within our biology, how Mother Earth exists, the amino acids, the building blocks, is remembering the four elements, or I would say the five elements. But the four natural elements is what we are all accustomed to understand, right? Fire, water, earth, water, and I would say the ether is the fifth. And in Chinese medicine, you would say metal. And they don't want you to open up your remembrance because you become the university. You become the school. University, universe. Once you see the universe within, not the reflections of what you're seeing within your five sensory systems, then you become the inner university for others, the school of remembrance. But this time around, we're not here for fellowship. I'm definitely not here to be followed. I'm definitely not here for discipleship and people to follow me. I'm here to assist with fragmented information. I say fragmented, but you know what I mean. With information that is needed, because all you need and needed to accelerate your process of where you're at right now. This particular group of people I'm talking to. It's just bits of information. And you are fine. Because you have everything that you have always needed in the here and now. And of course, individually speaking, such as myself, quite often we require to resequence using ancient technology, such as acupuncture is more than 5,000 years old. There are many Reiki practitioners. I don't practice Reiki, but there are many healers using light code languages through Reiki. Same thing with what I study and practice with this healing arts of the Qigong. So if you need a resequencing, a realignment, an inner attunement, quite oftentimes it's just having a one-on-one session and you giving me permission to just open up to you. And I'm just simply the mirror, but our connection becomes something indescribable. And how would you know that? It's because you feel a pulling, magnetized, gravitational sort of connection to wanting to reach out to me. Usually because of my looks. All right, I gotta have some humor up in here, you know what I'm saying? No, but you know what I'm saying. It's usually because of a remembrance. Like you may say, this person looks like my cousin, or just something that I see in his eyes. I don't know. I resonate with his words, right? It could be within those frequency fields, but it could be like I saw you in my dreams, or it could be like not even any of that. It could be like, boom, I already know. You feel what I'm saying? I know I've connected with people that I've only needed to hear 3 minutes of their talk. And then I seldom just follow people on social media. But if I do, sometimes I don't even see the whole video. And it's like, I don't even know why I follow. It's just like, it's my way of supporting. And I'll just like hit, because it's like, I may not even follow the whole video through, but I'm like, I already know what you're about to say. It's like, you're awesome, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's just that, So that's you to you. That's how you start listening to your inner self. That's your inner language. So wrapping everything up, becoming conscious of everything observable, with no judgment of self and of others, even if it's dark, even if it's scary, even if it's traumatic, to allow it to flow through you, especially if something's coming towards you as far as of an experience. When we're talking about symbols and seeing and experiencing it, and that becomes your training. As soon as your emotions become enhanced, observe that. If you find yourself entrapped within that feedback loop, and you find yourself crying, or you're like saying, get away from me, and anger, well then, it will veer you off left and right, but that might be just as necessary, because it's something that needs to be healed within you. But once you're already gone through all of those feedback loops, we're talking about some serious ancient ones here, serious ones that they're not just human, that are here right now as walk-ins, or right now becoming more conscious. I'm speaking to those who are in the in-between for a reason. This is my assignment. These short talks amplify what you already know by the thousands. And crazy enough, it's all you've ever needed, in the right time, at the right frequency, within the right junctions within your journey. As I've been ascending, so have you, and all of a sudden we're at some junction point right now. You can see it, you can feel it. And that's what many would call soul language or light code language. Very scientific. Because this is how we were created. We're very advanced ancient technology. So you are the living current. Your attention is how your level of currency naturally flows. Your currency has always been flowing, but you weren't paying attention. You're paying. You're paying. But once you realize your attention is the payout, not the physical money. That's Halloween. Those are the puppets. Those are the masks. You're feeding the monopoly system when your attention goes to money. See, money and currency of the human collective experience of how we are contracted with how money works within the time being. That will bend towards your will once you shift your attention to the currency of your natural flow. You're the wealthiest person that you know. there is not a numerical figure or a value that can never be tagged to your name, to your signature. So with everything that I said, it's time to reprogram your state. It's time to reprogram and resequence your language, your inner dialogue, and your outer the same. That's the challenge, because again, we are still full of so many distortions, so many belief systems that we may still not be conscious of. So many indoctrinations the same. That's why people like me are here. That's why I'm here the same. Reach out to me privately to schedule a consultation so that we can start prescribing you individually, so that you can start to dismantle, collapse the programming like this in your way. I mean, like this could be immediate, just from a one-on-one consultation. It could be a distance healing session along with the consultation. They're like 2 different sessions, and it's one rate. So if you go into my website, you're gonna see like different rates. Well, actually you can, I guess I didn't fix it yet, but one rate, because all of I'm doing, all of the energy work is free. There is no charge for that. So what you're paying for would be my time, so that I could continue to do this within my path. So our energy exchange of the money, right? It's the abundance between us, right? Because it's like saying that we can never be stopped by currency flow. So that the number figures that I choose are always numerical for a reason. But that you're paying for my time, right? But your time the same. But the healing, I can't say no if I'm being called upon. You feel what I'm saying? It's important that I say this. I needed to say that for myself for a very long time. But I'm saying this in case this resonates, or in case somebody needs to hear this. So again, if you require an Akashic record reading, a one-on-one session, and a Qigong session, right? Maybe you only require one, maybe you require all 3. You're just gonna know. And I'm okay with all of it. It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna say no. It's just one rate. Just one rate. And just go into my website and you'll see my rate there. And again, you're gonna see them as if they're each, it's the same rate for each of those times, but that'll be 3 different days. Most of the time it's like you can actually schedule with me it depends on our time, right? Sometimes it's 2 services on one day and then the other one is on a different day. But again, once we have the energy exchange, you don't pay me 3 different times. It's just that one rate. It's not that one rate times 3, right? And not as uncommon, sometimes people require to see me for 2, 3, or 4 times, you know. And sometimes they just require to use this as a way of, how do you say? It's almost like I love to go for massage therapy. I haven't gone in a long time. But that's like, for me, it's like I'm very sensitive as far as I'm very tapped into my somatic nervous system. And that's where my overload tends to take place within this acute state. So sometimes just somebody just embracing their hands. Yeah, I could do it to myself right now. I'm hugging myself, right? I do that every day, right? The self-hug is very important. If you just do that somatically, you know, it can almost make you want to cry, right? Or just relax, right? Just do this. But when you align yourself with someone else and within the energy exchange, right? You're honoring their work, and they're honoring you're honoring your time the same. And there you can just sit in inertia and have them work with you in a massage, as an example, right? Well, that's how I would go routinely, cyclically. If I could, it would be every 2 weeks, you know? Ideally, I wanted to do it every month. And that's the way I like to collaborate, right? And not limited to, right? I'm an acupuncturist, so I can just treat myself. But it's a whole different conversation if I'm aligned for someone else to treat me. And I want to be honest, there's not too many people in this world that I would, at this point, I haven't met anyone else yet, but there's not too many people who I would actually allow to treat me as far as with massaging or acupuncture, because our aura connects, you know, in the moment. And so there has to be kind of like, again, like our connection right now, there has to be an organic connection in the moment. And I'll know, just like you would. So people see me cyclically in their own time, and just like they would go for weekly acupuncture. It's the same when it comes to this. As it's oftentimes like, not because I require, it's because this is how I enjoy collaborating. Doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. And this is how I pay myself back. So concluding, fire language, soul language requires currency. And the currency is attention. Attention is the key code mechanics required for directionality. When there's no directionality, then there's contrast and expand. There's just everything and nothing happening at the same time. But with attention is how you can start collapsing timeline immediately, and also how you can interlace the templates from the mental manifesting into the physical. And as I mentioned before, the physical collapsing, that same, making space for the criteria of resequencing and making space again for the moment. Finances, the currency of others, will have no choice but to collapse into your experience if we were supposed to connect, repel, sometimes antagonize, which is all divine timing, in the synergy of what we are here to do, initially, individually, and in preparation to coming back home. Such as the coordinates of 000, complete inertia, complete centeredness. That's how you recollaborate. That's how you align. That's how you no longer separate the physical from the non. Become the author. And remember your currency by simply placing attention. Thank you.